Hi, this is Steve Barton for Solid Rock Machine Shop Incorporated. Today we want to give an update on this clamping system that we developed in order to grind these two-room stones. We thought that our last video was going to be our final video in the series that we did. But as we ground more of these stones, there was some things with this clamping system that worked really well. But there's some do's and don'ts that you want to pay attention to, and we want to go over some of that in case some of you have made this type of clamp system and want to use it. But before we get there, we ground 5 different sets. We ground a set for Adam to take to his full-time job. We ground a set for me to take to my full-time job. We ground a set here to keep at Solid Rock Machine Shop. If you've seen Jonathan's video, we ground a set for him. And then in the last video, you've seen a tool that I tried to use to true up the diamond well, and I couldn't get it to work real well. But a friend of mine at my full-time job, Pat Bonzalar, he allowed me to use it. So in the show our thanks, we ground him a set as well. But what we want to do is we want to talk about this clamping set, how we originally did this. We had it sitting over here in the grinder. We have this back rail. As you can see, it's sticking out quite a ways off the back, about 3/4 of an inch or so, and that's because of the travel of the machine. I could have made this so the back rail's right up to the front. In fact, this is made so you can turn it around. But when I'm putting our spin fixture on here with a longer plate, I want to get all the travel that I can with that. So what happens is this back lip is down probably about 10 or 15 thousandths. In our original video, we were putting these little blocks in the back. Now they would barely hang on to the front over here. And they would angle down. It wasn't making an ideal clamping situation. As I started grinding some more of these, I changed the process. And what I did is I just took this part of the hinge on one of the hinges that I was making, just a flat piece of steel. I can stick it on there, it bridges the gap, press down on here, I can turn the magnet on, switch it over to the residual, and then I can stick my stone, put my stone up, and all I did was just take a zip tie. I need a little shim, and I just shaved it off a little bit. I can stick that right up next to the block. And then what I'll do is I want to line this up pretty close with that backing block. You want to put pressure pushing against the whole setup, as well as pressure down on the tab. Turn your magnet on. Now if you turn your magnet on, sometimes this thing is a little bit too tight and it won't come out. So I'll turn it on, and a lot of times you can hear click. Turn it back off. You hear click because the back of this plate with the playing hinge at the very bottom is hitting. I turn it on, just lightly tap, and then one of the things, it holds really tight. One of the things that I've done is because I've had it, if this plate is too high, it tends to not hold the plate flat. So with the wood handle, I wouldn't use any metal or brass, but just lightly tap to seat that in. And then it holds really good. In fact, this holds so good, I've been skipping putting the blocks on the other end. And I guess there's 2 schools of thought on that anyhow. If you block your part on the back, and if you're grinding, especially thinner plate, and if they would happen to lip up and it's blocked in the back, it could cause some troubles. There's nowhere for it to go. It just lifts, and you can have a crash. In my experience, a lot of times when I'm grinding something, if it's long and flat, if you grind and you don't block in, and the block happens to grab with your wheel, a lot of times it just shoots off to the side and it just goes flat. Sometimes it just scoots just a little ways. Sometimes it might go and hit the guard. If you got a short narrow piece that's taller, then you're definitely going to want to block it. But something that's got a white surface like this, especially with this holding real good, I don't think it's necessary. In fact, I've been grinding all these blocks and didn't have a problem with it. The other thing I want to demonstrate to you is to show you how you can tell if the part is sitting pretty flat. And I got to turn the three-phase generator on a second. What I've done, I've got this eyeball pretty close. Actually, I got too close there because I'm actually touching. But I have it so the back of the wheel's even with this edge. And what I'll do, I'll set the digital to 0. And then I'll wind down. Until I just barely touch. And you can see that it's a lighter color where the high points of the wheel is touching. Set 0. Back it up a couple thou. Come over to this side. And one other important thing, always make sure that you're on this side. If you got your wheel and you're feeding in on this side, and if that happens to be 15, 20 thous up, it's going to want to suck that wheel a lot of pressure and pull that wheel. Or the stone is the wheel's going to want to pull it into it. It's not going to be good. If you're on this side and you happen to have made a miscalculation and your wheel's way down, you're going to hit this and it's going to want to push it away. You're not going to have a crash like you will probably have the other way. So anyhow, you wind to this side, you wind up a couple thousandths, you come across there easy just to make sure it's not sitting up high, and then you just gently come down. Until you start seeing, and you can see I'm within 50 millionths on the digital where I was touching over there. So I know the stone is sitting flat. And so this is one of the tips that I wanted to show you. When you use that, use something thin. If you have this movable plate, the clamping plate, if it's at too much of an angle and the pressure that puts down, it's really hard to get that to sit flat. So the zip tie works out just to be about the right size. I'm going to leave this set up like that. I'm going to turn the machine off, the generator, and I'll come off camera and I'll just redo that surface. With this clamp, if I hold it up, I think you might be able to see it. You'll notice that it's thinner here, thicker up here. This is on purpose. The reason I have these washers is because I use the same 1/4-inch stock material I had, and the amount of stock that I took off over there, I had to make the difference up with the washers on here so that it would set relatively flat that way. If I left that square and come down and I'm holding up at an angle over here, there'd be a angle there. So I tried to make it so that I'm more level at about 60 thousandths more level with the magnet on this piece right here to give more hold down power. And actually I don't even know if it's necessary because this thing actually holds really good. Also, you can see that, if you can see it, I have an angle this way as well on the top. If you're holding this up, if I exaggerate this and this was squared off and you're holding, it would just be touching at this angle here, and if it moved back a little bit, well, there's nothing over here and it comes slamming down. So you could probably even get away with making a steeper angle over here. You don't have to try to match it at about 60 thousandths high, what angle you're going to get there. Go ahead and cut that relief angle pretty good. And what will happen is when it comes down, it will be touching up in this region a little bit more, and so if it does slip a little bit, it should go down, and as that angle goes down, it is still digging to the part. So for those of you that might not be comfortable grinding your stone or whatever material you are that's non-magnetic without a block sitting in the back, if you're going to make a clamp like this, one of the things that you can do is you can extend one of these sides, you can extend it out maybe another inch or so, and then what would happen is if you extend that out, you can use that as your stop as well as this for your clamp. So just an idea for you to try. This clamp works really good. You have to use it right. If you get the angle set up too high, it tends to hold the work a little bit crooked. So I took this zip tie, just shaved it down. I suppose I could cut these back a little bit and not have to shave the zip tie, but I got it set up so that when you got the zip tie in there, it worked out just about perfect as far as how high I wanted this to go. And then you move the zip tie out, and of course, and then it's got all the holding power that you need on there. I just want to thank Robin Renzetti for making the video. I watched a number of his videos. This one happens to be probably one of my favorite because I never heard of these stones before and what they're used for, and we haven't really gone over that. I'll be putting a link in this video at the bottom of the page. You can go see his video. He explains it a whole lot better than I do. And by the way, I did look at the website that he talked about where they sell these after they're ground. And this company does sell them for $500 a set. Right now we bought these through MSC. They were about $16 a piece by the time you grind them. This one company apparently has been selling them for $500 a set, so it's a valuable tool as well. But Robin done an excellent job. He explains all the details on how to use these, because if they're not used proper, you'll see that he's all the time rubbing the stones together, and that's to clean out the different particles that will get in there. And if you don't do that, you're going to run in trouble. One of the things I didn't get the first time I went through there, I picked up the second time, was you want to wipe down the part that you're going to stone. You want to wipe it down, make it clean, wipe it down with alcohol or whatever, because if it's got any residue over, I found that out the hard way the first time I did this. I thought, where's all that black stuff coming from? It kind of left a mess. So you want to clean your part off, and it's an important part of it as well. So Robin has some other videos that you might be interested. One that I thought was really neat, I thought was actually quite genius, was he has one where he turned his surface grinder into a centerless grinder, and I think he had about 100 of these small parts that he had to grind. And you just have to watch the video. It was clever, the setup that he had and how fast he was kicking those out and the precision that he was getting with that. So look up on his channel and check that out. Also, he has one where he's doing a reconditioning a level, and he's working with Tom Lipton on it. And that level, I think, if I remember right, was about 15 inches. There's a part in that video that I thought was really neat. He has an electronic measuring tool like this, the amp and the amp head, and his is more sensitive than mine. My unit, on the finest resolution, each little mark is 5/millionths of an inch. And if I remember correctly, on Robin's, each increment was 1/millionth of an inch. So there's a place on that video where he's taking that level from Tom Lipton, and he sets it down, and he zeroes out his indicator on that real fine resolution down on the end. Each mark again is 1/millionth of an inch, and he's wanting to show you the effects of heating and cooling that it has on the expansion and contraction of metal. So he zeroes out on the end, and then he just breathes about 5 inches away. And when he breathes on there, what it does, the temperature is heating up the steel, and so now it's wanting to expand. As it expands, it bends down, and sure enough, you can see it's about 5/millionths that it went with just his breath. Then he showed the evaporation process, which cools things off, and he's put some alcohol on the same place where he breathed, and as that would evaporate, and then next thing you know, it would contract, and it would be, as it contracted, you'd be pulling it, and in the end would come up, I think, about 10 millionths. But it was an interesting video because it shows you how important that is. Now, I'll never work in tolerances like that. I mean, those tolerances are way beyond anything I do. But that principle is just as true. If you take a block like this, you want to grind it, and you want to hold it within a couple 10,000ths, and you don't run coolant on there, you use wrong wheels, you generate some heat, you'll probably never get the tolerance or the flatness that you want because of the thermal that's taking place in the block. That's why it's important to run coolant, run the right wheel in order to get the results that's needed for whatever project you're on. So Robin, he's one of these kind of guys. He has a lot to offer. You watch his videos. I watched about a half dozen of them. All of them are professional. The guy has, again, like I say, a lot to offer. He's got many years experience, and in my time, I've got over probably around maybe 40 years, a little over 40 years in this trade, and I've met a lot of people who's had many years, and so you'll come across these people, they'll say, I've got 40 years experience. Well, you got to take it with a grain of salt until you get to know them, because some of them, they do truly have 40 years experience in the trade, but there's some of them have 1 year experience 40 times over, and you can quickly tell who those are. I think Robin's one of those who has many years experience, and again, a lot to offer. So if you haven't seen his channel and seen some of the stuff he does, I encourage you to look at it. I think you'll benefit. I think you'll like it. And so this will be it for today, and we'll see you next time.